when someone's passed away, how important is it how important is preserving and burying the corpse? Is it more to do with spiritual rituals than the rituals pertaining to the person's body? I'm going to explain that to you now when we get to cremation versus burial. I'm going to explain that. I'm going to answer that question during the talk. So, as I was saying, there's a living realm and there's an ancestral realm, right? There's the two realms. Okay. Balance and equilibrium is essential in life. In other words, amatongo that are in vessels in the living realm, right? And amatongo that are in the ancestral realm, right? They work in such a way that there is balance. Okay. So as one passes away in the living realm, Lelo Tongo now returns to the ancestral realm, right? And then as that person passes away, there is new life in the family, and Itongo and Ininyi Tongo is brought into this family here because you want a balance of ancestral spirits in the living realm versus the ancestral realm. And you can't have more in the living realm than the ancestral realm, the same way you can't have more in the ancestral realm than in the living realm. You need to have a perfect balance. And that balance needs to take into consideration, spiritual diversity as well as spiritual blessings and manifestation, especially spiritual diversity. Now you're going to say to someone, but someone, how is it possible we have thousands and thousands of we have hundreds of ancestors, but there's only a few of us alive? Is it about numbers? Remember, it is possible for one person to have two ancestral spirits. So therefore, balance, when someone passes away and someone gives birth, they are constantly ensuring that this balance between amatongo that are in vessels in the living realm are in perfect balance and harmony with amatongo that are in the ancestral realm. Because, for example, you can't have isanus, let's say, for example, right? Or you can't have all of your sanusis in the living realm, inhabiting vessels, and you don't have any in the ancestral realm. Because the ancestral realm, you need if you need isanusi, you need that element, that gift of by isanusi, to see into the future or to predict the future, to be there, right? And the same way, you can't have all of your sanusis in the ancestral realm and none in the living realm. Because then who is going to actually do the work in the living realm? Does it make sense what I'm saying? So that constant balance is important, right? That's why in Black culture, natural death, we call it natural death, right? We don't call it natural death. Actually, that's a nice English name. Sithi umuntu usishile, umuntu akasekho emhlabeni. Yabo? We don't say umuntu died. Umuntu usishile. They have left us in the living realm and they now reside in the ancestral realm. Umuntu usehambile la emhlabeni. They've left the living realm and they're in the ancestral realm. And when someone is born, what do we say? Sibonga abadala basinikeza ingane. We have been given life. No one ever says, you see, in Black culture, you must look at the words and the way we speak, right? We never say someone has a child. We say, sibonga abadala ngokuthi bakunikeza ingane. We thank the ancestors that they have given you life. They have given the process of this child, or of that child has left amanyamatongo and has been bestowed upon these parents in the living realm. Natural death is always the most desired. Natural death free of spiritual predispositions. Let me say that. Natural death free of spiritual predispositions is what is desired. Okay. Now, balance must always be maintained, corrected, or returned. When somebody passes away from unnatural death, right? This is the scale. Hope you guys can see my hand. When someone's stabbed, someone's shot, someone's killed, you immediately do that, right? Now, what's happened is you have disturbed that balance, right? It's the equivalent of going and hitting the scale, right? You've hit the scale really, really hard. So ukuvala umkhokha, right? Or cleansing the home, you are bringing back that balance, right? And you're ensuring that this gap does not get filled by another life, because ukuvala umkhokha, you are closing, right? By ukuhlaba leyo mbuzi, right? Cleansing the home, and instead of umuntu passing away, leso silwane takes its place, and it cleanses the home and protects everyone else in that home, so that no one else is a product of dying by that same way. I hope that makes sense. So you've hit the scale. Someone's been stabbed, right? Once someone's been stabbed, lelo tongo has been ripped out. You see, that's the problem with unnatural death. It's physically ripping out itongo away from its vessel, right? You destroy the vessel and you rip it out completely. Okay. You need to make sure that that doesn't happen to anyone else in Denini. And ukuvala umkhokha ensures that that spiritual predisposition does not take place, or it removes that spiritual predisposition in the family. That is why, if there is unnatural death in the family, valani umkhokha. I know a family, the grandfather committed suicide. The father committed suicide. The son, he's still alive, but he recently tried to commit suicide. And you know what's even more interesting? They're not black, they're white. So if you think that these things affect only abantu bamnyama, right? Remove that preconceived idea out of your mind, because these affect Abelun as well. They affect Indians as well, because as long as you reside on African soil, the laws of African spirituality can affect you. But anyway, that's a conversation for another day. So I hope you guys understand the circle of life. Now we're getting to this one. We'll talk about cremation versus